What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of Justin Jefferson's route running. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you would like a daily training schedule to follow, check out that very first link in the description below for our ultimate 8-week wide receiver workout plan. You'll get 500 plus wide receiver drills and gym exercises all mapped out and put into a daily schedule. Like Monday, you'll do this. Tuesday, you'll do that. We give you the exact sets and reps and examples of each drill and exercise. So check out that very first link in the description below if you're interested in our 8-week workout plan. Let's get started with this video. So Justin Jefferson, arguably the best route runner in the NFL, and we're going to talk about some of the things that he does with his routes and why he is so great. So this first move here, he's going to be running this like simple post route versus a DB who's in like off-man coverage, and he's using a move called a rocker step. You see Justin Jefferson do this just about on any route where he has to break off of 1 foot. So what I mean by that is like routes like an out route, a dig route, a post, or a corner, where you would normally just cut off a 1 foot. He uses this rocker step. So let's talk about it. So he's coming off the ball here, uses this 1-2, runs this post, able to get separation and finish with this catch. So let's talk about it. A DB, when he is in off-man coverage, he is supposed to be watching what on the wide receiver? He's supposed to be watching our hips, reading our body language. So on this rocker step, it is very important that you sell it with your body language. So a rocker step is you take a step in the direction you are going first to fake like we are running a corner, an out route. We're essentially trying to fake like we're going the opposite of the side that we are breaking, right? So if you have to run a post, that's an inside route, so you want to step with your inside foot first. In this case, it would be with Jefferson's left foot. So he comes up to this break, and he goes left, right, and sells like he is breaking to the outside. Now you see, obviously, how far Jefferson steps to the outside, how much his hips, how much his shoulders turn. That is what gets him separation. But how is he able to step this far? Is it because he's just a freak athlete? No, it has a lot to do with the mechanics of this rocker step. So when you do this rocker step, the second step is obviously more important, right? This is the step that sells it. But the first step sets you up for the second step. So then you take that first step, it's got to be inside of your body frame. So what do I mean by inside my body frame? I mean it's literally inside your shoulder frame. You do not want to step super far. You do not want to over-exaggerate the first move of this rocker step. One of the mistakes a lot of young receivers make is that when they do this move, they step super far with this foot way outside their frame. They're dragging their feet. But when you step far, guys, you can't push. You can't get to the other side with enough step or with enough body cell to get this guy to jump. But when you stay inside your frame, guess what he can do? He can push off of the middle arch of this foot, and that push is what allows him to step so far. Now, the upper half is a totally separate game from this. You guys want to have your upper body completely separate from the lower body. So when he makes this cut, you see how his toes pointed forward and he has this shin angle kind of shifted to the inside. That's so he can get out of the break with some speed. The mistake a lot of receivers make is that they'll try to sell this thing with their upper body, but their toe will open up and point completely in this direction. You're not going to be able to push and drive out of there. You're going to take a bunch of extra steps, and that will allow this DB to recover. So we need to make sure, again, short first move inside your frame, you're pushing off of it and selling to the outside. Now, the upper body turn, because that's the most important, because that's what the DB's looking at. That's what sells it. I tell my receivers, you want to try to turn your belly button to the sideline on this move. Honestly, that goes for any cut too. Even if it's not a rocker step, even if he's just cutting off of 1 foot, you want to try to do that because that hip sell is what's going to get you the most separation. The feet want to be sudden. The feet want to be quick. Yes, you need to make it believable, but the upper body is what does it. So he hits him with this great 1-2, gets that DB to jump, and again, a lot of speed out of the cut, separation out of the cut to win on this post route. That's a textbook rocker step right there from Justin Jefferson. And when you watch his film, like any game this year from the 2023-24 season, again, guys, this is one of his moves that he uses on everything. You look at all the top guys, him, Cooper Kupp, all the best route runners, they use this type of move. Let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job hitting that move and winning on the post. All right, so this next example here is going to be Jefferson using something called a slide release, and I want you guys to pay attention to just pretty much how smooth the cut is and how patient he is with this release. So he's got a DB who's lined up like head up press coverage. He's not really shaded to the outside or shaded to the inside, and he has to run a slant route. So he comes off the ball and he slides to the outside, gets a crossover, and then you see the amount of separation that he's able to get. So I think a lot of this rep, and I know we're not a DB channel. We don't talk a whole lot about DB technique because I don't have much like experience with that position, right? But one thing I do know about DBs, and we mentioned this in the last example, where are their eyes supposed to be on us? They're supposed to be watching our hips. So when we do a press release off the line, and if this DB has his eyes high looking at our head and shoulders, guys, that's easy freaking money. We just give a little shoulder like shimmy, if you will, and that's going to get a separation. But again, when we get a DB with disciplined eyes, we still want to be able to get separation. So with this release, Jefferson, again, he slides to the outside to try to get this DB to move off his platform. Because I'm sure all of you have seen Justin Jefferson do a release where he'll come off the ball, and I'm sure a lot of you saw this last year where he'll slide to the outside and then go. Right? That's always a threat for this DB. If you see Jefferson slide to the outside and you stay super patient and hold the inside leverage, he could just take off and go run that fade, and that could be easy money for him. So as a receiver, guys, you have to pair your releases together so it keeps this DB on his toes. It keeps him guessing. He doesn't get a read on what we were doing. Like, let's say Jefferson, for example, the only slide variation of his release that he had was this crossover. He never once did a slide and go. Anytime a DB who is smart, who had film on Jefferson, saw this slide, they would just sit to the inside because they know that there's really not much of a threat of him going outside. But if you go inside, you go outside, you pair your releases together, that again, that keeps the DB guessing. He's got to rely on his technique, and we could always make him miss with that technique. So let's watch what he does on his crossover. So he slides to the outside, DB jumps, he hits him with this one. Again, the first part, because it's a crossover move. What does that look a lot like? Looks a lot like a rocker step. We call it a crossover because it's a part of the press release. It's just a little bit different terminology, but in a way, it's kind of the same idea. But the first part of this move, you see how he steps, it's inside of his body frame. What do you need to do off of that? You need to push because you got to sell. You got to step far. Your hips, your shoulders, your head, everything has to sell like we're going to the outside. That gets that DB to jump because he thinks it's that slide and go release. And again, he wins on this slant. Now, guys, with this slide and go release, you see how Jefferson's getting the ball a little bit later, like he slides and the ball's not right off the break. He takes a few steps on this like 5-yard under route or 5-yard in. It's probably because he's a second read or a third read or like backside. That slide release takes some time. So guys, we can't use it when the quarterback's throwing a quick slant, wants to get us the ball right now because it just simply takes too long. We have to do something a little bit faster. So this showcases his route running IQ, timing up his releases with the play. And again, some of you at the youth level, high school level may not have a play like that, and that's okay. But you may have some, you eventually will. I'm trying to tell you guys that you eventually will, and that's when you can put this into effect. But even if you guys were just to use the straight up crossover off the line, those mechanics can apply to you. Remember, the first step is the least, it's important, but it's not as important as the second. Let's keep it inside the frame and let's sell with the second step. All right, so now this is an example here of Jefferson running. Some people call this a Colorado route. Some people refer to this as a slant out. Some people call this a blaze out. I would refer to this as just a slant out. The blaze out is usually when you take 3 steps at the break point. Jefferson only takes 2, which is insanely hard on this. But essentially what he's doing, it's a double move route. It's not a whip route because he doesn't keep his hips and shoulders facing the line of scrimmage. He turns his entire body. But I would consider this a slant out. He's selling the slant, then breaking to an out. So he comes off the ball, sells the slant, breaks his thing, flips out, and again, a lot of separation, easy win on this route. So let's talk about it. So anytime that you're running a double move, fellas, we obviously got to sell the first move. That's the whole reason we're calling it. We're trying to make it look exactly like that slant route. So when you break to the slant, and this goes the same for a post corner, a corner post, an out and up, whatever the first move is, you have to sell it with 3 specific things. Number 1, you got to have speed. This DB will not believe and he will not crash if we are not running hard. A lot of receivers, because they're not confident in their breaks, because maybe they haven't worked on it enough, maybe their legs aren't strong enough, their ankles aren't strong enough to support all of that force. And that's like more of a, it's not a mental thing, but like you're not out there thinking, oh, my ankles aren't strong enough. Like you're out there like, and you're just not confident in it. You don't know why. It's probably because we haven't done the work on we haven't done the drill work, the correct things to work on my ankle stability, my leg strength. So you're maybe not as comfortable with the break. But if you are, and you just have a struggle selling it, this is something that can help you. So again, we need to have speed. Second thing, we got to be running in full stride. We got to gain ground. If you're taking choppy steps because you're preparing for the break, again, it comes down to a confidence thing. If you're not confident in the break because you haven't worked on it, you're going to be very hesitant going into this break. You're going to slow down. You're going to chop your strides, and that doesn't sell it. We got to open up the stride. We got to make sure we are running hard, and you got to commit your hips, shoulders, and eyes. We call that body language. So speed, stride, body language. That's what gets this DB to crash. That's what gets them a little greedy. Then bam, we put the brakes on. Now, when we drop into a break like this is again, and some of you may not have a slant out in your playbook, but I guarantee you guys have a comeback, you guys have a curl, you guys have a hitch route, you guys have a dig, and you have to drop your hips on just about every single one of those breaks. So the mechanics of this hip drop is something that you could apply to every single route. Because again, stopping, decelerating, it's all the same. When it comes down to dropping your hips, it's the same mechanics. So guys, when you're running full speed, how you slow down is not by sinking your hips, it's by freaking dropping your hips. You need a violent drop of your hips. Now again, you need a lot of ankle stability for that. You need leg strength, you need explosion, and those are all things that receivers can work on in the gym and on the field by doing the specific and correct exercises. You need to do the right things that will translate to this. So when he's running this slant route, again, it's a violent drop because the more violent you drop your hips, the quicker you're able to stop. The quicker you can get to this position, a 90-degree position, and I tell my receivers this all the time, bring your chest to your quad. Chest to your quad so you're not straight up in the air with your back leaning back, not chest over the knees so you're not falling forward and taking a bunch of extra steps. If you can get to 90 degrees and bring your chest to your quad, as quickly as possible, you will stop. And when you decelerate like that, that puts you in an explosive position to where you can take powerful steps and drive out of there because your pad level and your body language is low. You're in an explosive spot. It's like a 40-yard dash. When you run a 40-yard dash, the first 5 yards, you are very low and powerful. Then you stand up and accelerate. Same thing on a route. At the break point, I am low and powerful. Chest to quad. How fast can I get to 90 degrees with my chest to my quad so now I could drive out of this? And that's how you stop yourself, fellas. That's a great example of that on that slant out. It would be the same break on a comeback, same break on a hitch. That is how you decelerate. And that's, again, why Jefferson's one of the best. His change of direction is next level. He's insanely smooth. His releases are great off the line. That's what it takes to be a great route runner. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. Always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like an 8-week wide receiver gym and on-field workout schedule with all of the exercises, again, that you can do to improve your leg strength as a receiver, explosiveness, ankle stability, knee stability, everything that's going to help you with cuts, releases off the line, the works. Check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that, fellas. I'll see you guys next time.